How's it going, guys? My name is Cody Spencer, and I did my project on Thanksgiving, or should I say, the celebration of a massacre. What sparked my interest? So, one of the first class periods I had, my professor asked us a few questions. The first question was, how many of you know about the Pequot massacre? The next question was, how many of you were taught at a young age that Thanksgiving was a peaceful day? Me not knowing the answer to the first question, and everyone knowing the answer to the second question, I decided to dig deeper about what Thanksgiving was truly about. In the beginning of There by Tommy Orange, he briefly mentions the massacre and how it's called Thanksgiving. And today, the education is still teaching Thanksgiving as a peaceful holiday about the Pilgrims and the Indians having a feast after signing a peace treaty. But that's just not the case. So to briefly sidetrack, I thought it would be important to address the very first Thanksgiving. So we were told that it took place on 1621 at Plymouth Plantation. The Plymouth colonists and the Wampanoag shared an autumn harvest feast that acknowledged today as one of the first Thanksgiving celebrations in the colonies. An Indian named Squanto from the Poxitawnit tribe showed the Pilgrims dying from disease, illness, and hunger how to grow crops such as corn. When spring came along, they were hunting and growing crops. When fall came around, Governor William Bradford organized a celebratory feast because of how successful their spring was, and they wanted to show gratitude to their new allies. The feast was later called Thanksgiving. So my literary connection, with the topic came from the book There by Tommy Orange. Tommy Orange is an indigenous person himself, and he wrote the book because he recognized the country's lack of understanding when it came to Indian racial inequality. My quote from the book is from the prologue on page 5, and it said, in 1637, anywhere from 400 to 700 Pequot Indians gathered for their annual green corn dance. The colonists surrounded their village, set it on fire, and shot any Pequot who tried to escape. After reading this, I was curious as to what happened and why it did. So the Pequot Massacre of 1637. For some background on the Pequot War, it was a battle between the English and the Pequot Indians. The Pequot territory in 1637 was approximately 250 square miles in southeastern Connecticut. For a time, the Pequot controlled all trade in the region. There were many Indian tribes that were resentful toward them. The English hated the fact that the Pequot had control of the region and its trade market. The English and other native tribes joined forces to eliminate the Pequot tribe. The English army led by John Mason invaded the Pequot village as they were doing their annual green corn dance. John Mason and his men set the village on fire and slaughtered the 400 to 700 Indians who resided there, regardless if they were women or children. Those who were lucky enough to escape the fire and massacre were hunted down and killed. Governor of Massachusetts, John Endicott, held a feast in celebration of their victory over the Pequots and called it Thanksgiving. For the next 100 years, every Thanksgiving Day oriented by a governor was in honor of a bloody victory. Thanking God that the battle had been won. It wasn't until George Washington in 1789 that made it a day of thanks and prayer. So the stigma around celebrating Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving has always been viewed as a positive holiday to celebrate gratitude. But there isn't anything positive about its origin, especially to indigenous people. Thanksgiving is a national day of mourning because for many of them, the holiday serves as a harmful reminder of their land being stolen from them during colonization, how many of their people were killed, and how their culture was almost entirely stripped from them. Now, a few ways that I found to celebrate Thanksgiving respectfully and giving tribute to Native culture is supporting Native American art such as music, paintings, and so on. Listening to their music and buying their art shows that you care about their culture and its underlying message. Most Native American music that I've listened to talks about how they've been suppressed throughout their time. The famous painting I used is called The Last of the Buffalo, painted by Albert Bierstadt, and it displayed Indians hunting the few remaining buffalo after our government slaughtered them to deprive natives of an important food source. You could also enjoy this holiday by cooking a native dish. This would show that you are honoring native ancestors by enjoying a meal that is so deeply rooted in their culture. An example of the native dish is called the Three Sisters, which includes corn, beans, and squash. And you can see a dish that was made right there. So, for education reform, there is a countrywide debate about how this holiday should be taught. What's being examined is how we can teach it so we don't taint our U.S. history, how it can be respectful towards other cultures, how we can cause the least amount of division between people, and how we don't scare our children when we teach it. As I said earlier, I was taught Thanksgiving that it was a peaceful day as the Pilgrims and Indians signed a peace treaty, had a feast in honor of their new relationship, and lived happily ever after. That was the only mention in my curriculum of Thanksgiving or even the Indians. The way we have learned and celebrated in the classroom has undermined Native people as they are simply known as the people at Thanksgiving. This forces us to overlook everything about their culture. There was little to no culture exploration throughout my entire educational career until I got to college when I think about it. This is dangerous because I was blinded by one perspective for half my life. As America has become a more progressive society, there is a debate and there have been ongoing efforts to diversify curriculum as it's gotten more attention. School is what shapes young minds on how to think and react to certain things. Depending on what they learn, seriously affects their ethics and values when they get older. Learning about things from multiple perspectives is important because it allows the children to know the truth and form their own opinions instead of being forced into one side because they only know about that one side. It also allows our kids to be more sensitive and aware of Native culture and how to be respectful towards them. Thank you guys.